Any apologies? Any apologies? Denise, we cancelled it and Denise joining us? No? Okay. Anyone got any interest in code of conduct? No? Great. The minutes from the 5th of January 2017. Any matters arising, any points?
Chair, if I could just do a point of clarification on this, just in the resolution. Draw members' attention to paragraphs just before the resolution, just for clarity, that the consultation on the cumulative impact policy was in respect of premises which sold alcohol for consumption off the premises only. If that could be reflected in the resolution.
Okay. Okay, Dan, agree? No, nothing else for notes? Okay. Item 3, and then models and case okay.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Members are requested to consider the outcome of public consultation undertaken in response to a request received to amend the Council stated licensing policy to include a special cumulative impact policy for an area of Birkenhead. Members are asked to consider the consultation responses and put forward any recommendations should they be minded to amend the licensing policy to include the special cumulative impact policy, to put forward a recommendation to full council. Members will be aware that any amendments to the council's licensing policy must be approved by full council. Members have been provided with a full file containing the responses received as part of the consultation and have had an opportunity to look at and reflect those responses. It has been set out in the report, and it was stated in the committee, the last meeting of this committee, what members should be considering when determining whether or not to adopt a special policy. Members really need to consider whether there is good evidence that crime, disorder or nuisance are occurring, and whether these activities pose a threat to public safety or the protection of children from harm. And if such problems, if it is clear in the evidence that they are occurring, are these occurring whereby you can identify that they are being caused by customers of licensed premises, or that there is risk of punitive impact which is imminent in the area set out within the boundaries of the area where the consultation was concerned with. Members will be aware that full consultation did take place and is set out in the report. And in addition to that, Merseyside Police are here this evening to conclude their evidence in respect of why the Council should adopt a special policy relating to punitive impact within the area identified in the map attached to the report.
Okay, thank you, members. And it's another presentation.
discusses alcohol-related domestic violence reports, which would sit on page 3 of the report that I sent through to the council. Vernon and Tranmere wards account for 25% of domestic violence-related assaults within Wirral, where alcohol is believed to be the contributing factor. So that's a quarter of all domestic violence assaults on Wirral that are alcohol-related are coming from the area that directly surrounds the patrol, or the cumulative impact area within the map. Rather than just pick my figures from directly within that mapped area, it's very much commercial properties in that area, and as you'll probably be aware, for those of you that may purchase alcohol yourselves, you will go to an off-licence and then take it somewhere else, so the effects of alcohol are often located from a larger area than originally on the map, hence why we've drawn off figures from a larger beat number. I then moved on to the next page, which would be page 4 of the report, and that graph up there shows the alcohol-related violence across the whole of Wirral. The column on the right-hand side shows what percentage of alcohol-related violence falls within the area that would be covered or surrounding the cumulative impact zone that's on the map. As you'll see, the average over the 12-month period is 13%, so it's contributed to quite a lot of violence as well within the area. We also, as a neighbourhood, went out and spoke to some local residents because some of them would not be aware of the cumulative impact policy and it would affect them, so we wanted to know what their views were of it. We asked them if they had antisocial behaviour in their area and 79% of people said yes. When we asked if they suffered alcohol-related antisocial behaviour, 71% said that they did. And then finally, 79% of those asked, not just those who responded yes, were asked if they thought licensed shops contributed to their antisocial behaviour, and 79% of them said yes, it did. And we picked people that were very much in the residential area that surrounds Westbourne Road and Great Wirral. So people that would be directly affected from the area we live there. We also spoke to some community members, and I think these are responses that have come directly from our sort of survey or questionnaire that we spoke to local residents and shopkeepers and business owners in that area. But to be honest, these sort of replicate a huge amount of what I see on instant logs that come in with regard to antisocial behaviour in the area. People say that this year has been the streets, they've seen no stuff between street drinking and Cook Street. Street drinking, gangs, fighting, rubbish, mainly cans. I think it's improved, but it still needs to be maintained. Drunks behaving badly in the street, shops selling strong alcohol, concerns with the new supermarket. We'll get a licence when it opens. Street drinking on private property. They mean business premises and shop fronts. Gangs of youth, people smoking dope, I'm showing them cannabis, and fighting. Fighting gangs. Too many shops selling all day and night. Too many shops selling alcohol. generically the information that I get when people complain that it's quite a long-standing issue, and that despite the intervention we put in to control the environment, there's reducing the strength, where the barriers that are preventing the people.
Okay, Councillor Abbey.
Yeah, just on wider aspect, obviously it's so this committee can decide whether it should be approved to go to full council for final approval. But I'm just more interested in the actual enforcement action that is taking place at the back of that. Will these communities have to be rigorously enforced? Because that's the problem we've got. People are still saying they see people on the street with cans and activity that still does continuously go on. So like having a policy and having an area that has this policy and also the enforcement act, but it needs to be enforced vigorously, doesn't it?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's something that we sort of touched on in the last meeting that I attended here, was that the alcohol-free zone that we tried to have, my staff still do regularly approach people and say this that you can't drink here, and they will confiscate open vessels of alcohol. And we do that regularly. The offence occurs when people don't hand the alcohol over, and that's when we can take the enforcement. We frequently arrest people for drunken disorderly. I had an incident about 2 weeks after the hearing in January, where one of the staff members arrested somebody for drunken disorderly in their town centre that was most definitely linked to street drinking and alcohol that would fall within reducing the strength. So we are doing that, but we can't be everywhere all the time, and that is part of the issue that we've got, is that there's a supply here, and as a result of it, it's creating a demand. Or if the demand became a supply, I don't know. But we have got a number of options that we're looking to do to deal with, and this is just one aspect of it. This is probably a more longer term issue. Short term, we are still continuing to have days of action and we've put staff into the town centre to deal with the street drinking and, dare I say, the begging that's quite often linked to it.
No, I just asked a supplementary just on the back of that, because obviously we've got a raft of figures and drafts and so on. How is that reported? Because I know you've actually got charts there. How is it reported when you actually can identify the offence has been created because of an on-street drinker or drinking alcohol in purchase from whatever variety they get it from? How is that reported back? So we would then together, so you get an overview you are. It's difficult to, as you say, to be everywhere. But people aren't aware that you're doing anything. They think you know where they're, don't they?
Yeah, I think, first of all, we've come from a number of different computer sources. Just so you understand how it works with the police, we have, if you phone up at 999, you'll get your incidents which come on the system called Storm. These two maps here are Storm police incidents. So I might phone up and say there are 2 street drinkers outside my house and they're swearing. That would then be an ASB related call and it would come up on there. If they then go on and commit an offence, we crime it and it sits on another system, and then as part of the Home Office statistics for both incidents, which are non-crimes, matters and crimes, we have to tick boxes to say whether or not someone has or hasn't been involved in alcohol, and it's a positive check. So if you don't tick the box, the presumption is alcohol's not involved. Having worked in a data quality field within the police recently, I do know that sometimes people, it's human nature, don't always tick boxes, so it tends to be less, not more, anonymous. But that's how the jobs come in, and they're just reported jobs. They aren't the jobs that come through from, this doesn't capture the emails that I get from councillors, it doesn't capture the emails I get from town centre hosts, from
see you, but you are doing. How does that convey to the general public to say that we are on top of the situation? Because obviously the situation is that the street drinkers, and then you're going to get associated crime, not all the time, but some of them.
How are we effectively keeping the public up to date with what we're doing? There's a number of ways. Quite often we will do things, we will do press releases and we'll get involved in doing that. That tends to be the main way, or a lot of what we do is I tell my staff to go out and speak to shopkeepers, speak to the town centre hosts. If they give the right information to the shopkeeper or dare I say a councillor, then when your constituents come speak to you, you can pass that information out. And that's what it's about. We can't tell everybody, and I'm limited to how much I can put in a press release. But we do have those regular conversations with residents. We go to town centre meetings, we go to residents' meetings and talk to them about the problems and try and get that back. Well, that's a constant battle that I face in all aspects of policing. It's not just this.
You can see these online, can't you? There's on the police.uk.
You can see these on police.uk. I think a lot of the data that's in the public health response, which I think is that section 2, quite a large response from there, that is all obtainable through a website, and it's quite interesting. I've used it to get funding for community groups as to cracking kit on the website. It's worth looking at, but that's up there. It wouldn't be that up to date, and you wouldn't be able to hotspot it, which is what we've done. We've got the computer graphics that will then give you that. And I've worked Birkenhead on and off in neighbourhood or as a patrol sergeant for the best part of 8 years. That has always been my ASB hotspot. I was a Birkenhead sergeant in 2009, was it? 2010 when I started at Wallasey. That was the hotspot then. It's never changed.
Okay, Scott. Thank you. Councillor Sullivan.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the report, Kate. It's really good and very informative. Kate, my concern is I think the police are doing a good job here with the teams that are working to try and diminish this terrible problem in this area. And as a committee, I think we should do everything we possibly can to support you, to support the residents, and to support the team that's out there trying to get a grip with this very real problem. But my concern is the street drinkers are not being challenged or not being challenged enough. At least the police presence in the area and going into the shops, but to challenge the street drinkers, try and defuse the situation, maybe without even arresting the people, but at least confiscating the alcohol that they're drinking, pouring it away, throwing the cans away into litter bins, or confiscating them completely and taking them into bags and taking them away. But I think my concern is, and I think the general concern of the committee, that the police could be doing more. I mean, no, with diminished resources and lack of people on the streets, but when the police
Thank you for the comprehensive report, both by Margaret and yourself, in relation to what the problem is. I'll highlight it, I'll point this out to many people. This is one of the first pieces of first scrutiny that was done by this council. Pleased to say, two of the members that did it are actually sitting at this committee. And it's in relation to access to alcohol by young people. Now, there was 13 recommendations we put forward, which the council accepted 11 of them. All of those are relevant to the report that's in front of us now. The two that they failed to take on was unit price, which was a fixed one, and the other one was we recommended that there should be a tripartite meeting on a regular basis between the good selves, the licensing department and the magistrates, because that's where the major problem falls down. When the legislation changed and the licensing came from magistrates to local authorities, the magistrates took a step back and said, not our responsibility anymore, it's your fault. We can do an awful lot of work and the good selves do an awful lot of work, but when you take these people to court, nothing's really happening, and that's a major problem that we've got. I think we need as an authority to make sure, as a committee, we need to make sure that we get our message across, not only to the police commissioner, but we need to do something a lot more, and to support you. It's from us that we're asking that. And also, we should be saying to the magistrates as well. They need to put their anti-injury. But I fully agree with what you're trying to do. It's only what we said 7 years ago. Well, I don't mean to be funny when I say that, but it is a problem. We did it because it was young people who were there and concerns that we had. Now, those young people are most of the students. It's sad to say.
Okay, thanks Dave. Thanks Jude, then Tom.
Thanks, Kate. This policy adopted tonight and then by council will be a step in the right direction to prevent problems in the first place. Am I right in thinking that this will be, if it is adopted, it'll be the first policy on this?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any evidence from colleagues and neighbouring authorities that having the dispersals, having this discernment isn't just going to disperse the problem to outside Hodson and you can give that information?
I haven't specifically looked for that. I am aware that you don't want to move from one, which is why I made that map. But when I originally made the map, it was quite large to come to the town centre. I think that there is a possibility that given where some of the individuals reside, that you could move something slightly north and south of the town centre. I don't know is the answer to that. I don't have that ability to look into that, but I think they're quite effective in the areas that they are, and the biggest issue at the minute is the street drinking in the town centre, and my evidence would suggest that they're buying their alcohol from that zone. So I have to mark my maps where I've got the evidence, which was why I did it to those areas. That kind of answers the question.
Okay.
If I can answer on that, there is a review process that's built into the if the policy is adopted, so that when it does come up for review, and that's obviously one of the things that can be looked at when considering.
Okay. Councillor Noble.
I mean, this is part of the big picture, isn't it, really? I mean, the town centre lends itself, I know it's sort of dispersal and what have you, but the town centre lends itself, it's a magnet, isn't it, because of the way it's a town centre. You know, you've got your shopping precincts there, you've got your pubs there, you've got your nightclubs there, you've got everything that goes on in the town centre. So, I think we've got a duty to use the tools in the box, this being one of them. And I'm absolutely made up that there's going to be an impact review on how this works. Because as Dave says, you know, they did something 11 years ago and we've still got the problem now, you know. So we need to do interventions that actually solve the problem. So, you know, I'm fully aware that we've got, you know, the hives opening next month, isn't it? Right in the trying to make is that this has got to be a multi-agency, you know, Save Birkenhead Town Centre, cross-party initiative, you know, using this as one of the tools in the box. But them tools have got to fit the right nuts and work, haven't they? So we need to make sure that they're working and that the problem is being solved. And that can only be done by testing interventions, if you like, benchmarked against other interventions that are happening throughout the country. Because Birkenhead would be unusual for this type of scenario in a town centre. But I just think we've got to do it in a much more scientific way.
I think the town centre group that attend those meetings,
Just because all the licensing premises that are selling the alcohol now won't suddenly be closed because of this cumulative impact strategy. This will only apply to new licences where we'll have that tool in the box to be able to preside over whether they should have a licence or not. It might well be that looking at the evidence and the licensing regulations and the licensing, I forget the word, Mark, help me out. Objectives, you know, may well mean that the people presiding on them subcommittees will grant the licence because the evidence and the presentation that's been made to us is in a way that it doesn't compromise the licensing objectives. So is it an intervention, you know, to reinforce what Paul's saying, is it an intervention that is going to work? How are we going to test that intervention? What's going to be the impact of the intervention? And what else do we put alongside it to make, because you keep saying known street drinkers, you know, which sort of makes me feel these people are all known, you know, it's like a sort of club or something, you know, where these street drinkers are all known to everyone and they're all congregating in that area wherever they get their alcohol from. You're saying they get them from these premises or what have you, but they're not going to go somewhere else because the town centre is a big attraction, isn't it, because of the reasons I've just said. These people have a disease, you know, they can't stop doing this.
Yeah.
You know, it's a disease that they've imposed on themselves, I suppose, you know, or whatever, you know. They've been open to this peer pressure or whatever it is, and eventually, and people keep saying kids, these aren't kids. These are fully grown adults, some of them in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60 years of age, you know. So it's a long-term problem, and this is going to be one of the things that we can possibly do about it, you know. But if we suddenly closed all licensing premises in that area, we just close them down and prohibition in the Birkenhead area, we're still going to get this, aren't we?
I expect it will move somewhere. I think part of the issue is we highlight that Birkenhead is the perfect storm geographically. It has 2 hostels there. It has 3 hostels really, because it's got better hostels as well. It's got places where it's got high footfall for shoppers, so if you choose to beg, there's a good chance that you're going to do quite well from it. There's a whole host of reasons why people go to Birkenhead. No, we are not going to solve street drinking by one community impact policy, but it is another tool in the box. And I know from my point of view as a neighbour, when I was doing the neighbourhood inspector role, I sat on a few I attended a few licensing meetings where we talked about licensing applications for premises, and I know myself the community feeling and the feeling from the other multi-agencies that presented objections, and some of those licensing applications were successful and some weren't. I can see the impact on the ones when they are successful, where that's somewhere else that I've now got police to make sure that they're complying with licensing legislation, whilst also dealing with the ASB that covers from alcohol abuse, which is another thing for us to look at, and we are working closely with the licensing to police the licensing laws, if you like, for these premises, and making sure that they are not selling before or after, that we are trying to target those premises that supply to people who are intoxicated. And wherever I get that evidence, then it's in my interest to bring these people before a licensing committee, because we can probably
Is there any more questions for Kate? And so will they sit down? No. Does the councillor Stapleton from the Ward Council want to speak? Any questions?
Only really to support Katie, and we've both visited licensing committees on a number of occasions, haven't we? And as you said, some we've won, some we haven't. But we keep on going to them all. And I just want to say thank you for supporting that recommendation. And I hope you all vote for it, because this is going to make a massive, massive impact. And it sounds terrible to say, but this area feels like it's dying now. The centre around Charing Cross area, it really does feel like it's dying. We've got the magnificent Hive opening shortly. We're going to have loads of young people coming in, and we want to make it a better place for everybody. This will really help. It's not going to solve the problems, as Tony said, but it will make an impact, and I'm absolutely positive about that. So thank you all.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We're just going to
Yeah,
the
no,
vice.
I
Would you like to explain?
Yes, I think I heard correctly in the sense that you want to create a work party to look at the impact of the effectiveness of the policy that you're considering today. But I think you also mentioned that you wanted to widen that to include other legislation which isn't relevant to licensing. I think that's probably not something that this committee could be stretched to, if you like.
Okay, well, that's fine. But like I remove that part and just say that we look at this particular issue as an authority, so that we can, if we need to, move this to other parts of the world as easy as we can.
Well, we want to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I just think in terms of whether or not any further amendments should be made to the policy to include special punitive impact policy for other areas, I think the first point of consultation would be with Merseyside Police, really, and I could potentially then feed that back to this committee.
And we can consider that again.
Well, that's fine. But
Okay.
we haven't got a policy. We need one that is acceptable for the whole of the peninsula.
And as I say, Chair, I think, if, obviously through Kate and her colleagues, I can have those discussions and conversations and then report further to this committee rather than a separate.
Okay.
I'm very happy with that.
Councillor.
Yes, thank you. I must confess that it's a bit elephant in the room, really. I think we actually all agree on all sides here that this is absolutely essential. Certainly, Councillor Stapleton, I know, has made a very, very eloquent statement on many panels that I've been to, which I fully support. I do think, going back on what Dave said, and to be honest, what Tony said, is that if we can actually get some real sort of tangible evidence as well about how this has worked at some point in time, it will go to support some of the other councillors who are also looking for similar situations. And I'll use Rock Ferry as an example, but I think we do know that's a problem as well. And I think once we've got that evidence, I think Tony makes the point eloquent, is that I think we can then start to add to the policy on others. So I'm not sure there's anybody in the room here who actually disagrees with
No.
what so we just wanted to find the detail. I think that's all we're going to try and get.
Thank you. Councillor Hodson.
I agree with everything that's been said here. On the cloudy issue, I think we should just look at what we're looking at tonight and move forward with it.
Is that?
Yeah, I disagree with that. That's all the sort of first parts in move.
We will. So do you want to move that?
I'll move this.
I'll second it.
Move the policy and seconded. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried. No abstentions, no nays. There's no other business, Margaret? No. Well, we've took legal advice on that. Thank you all for attending, everybody, and thank the officers for the good work.
Thank you.